everybody. Welcome to the Social Media Manager. I'm your host, Dakota Jean. And today I am so excited because I have Amanda Wagner with me. We recently connected on Instagram, and immediately I knew that we were just going to be like virtual best friends. Did you feel the same way?
It happened so fast. When you reached out to me, I was like, okay, there's something here. And then we talked. And this 20-minute conversation, I was like, I could keep going. Like, we have more to say, clearly.
It's so true. And even like just looking through your Instagram and like listening to your podcast, which I want to get into as well.
Sure.
I was like, oh, we have so much in common.
Oh, absolutely. And after we met, I started listening to your podcast, and something that's always a cue for me when I know I'm going to be friends with somebody is somebody who uses what I call don't ask, don't get. And the fact that you reached out and I'm like, I want to ask you to be on the podcast. I'm like, hell yeah, this is my person.
Exactly.
So it just started really beautifully. And now being able to listen, I'm one of those people who's listening to the podcast in the car going, hell yeah, I totally agree with this. And it just, I'm so glad we're here today and get to have this conversation to now share with other people.
I am too. So I have to do this really quickly. So I used to have bangs just like you. And I really miss them, to be honest. But I'm going for like that curtain bang look.
Yes.
But I noticed that that was like one of the things. I know this is like not okay to say out loud, but when I started following you on Instagram, I was like, oh, she has bangs, so that means she's awesome.
Oh, absolutely. I'm like a fringe consultant for many people. When people are like, I'm considering bangs, tell me about the upkeep. And inappropriately, I refer to people who have them like, oh, we're bang buddies. Which I'm like, I know that's not the right word, but people who get it.
Yeah. Exactly. Fringe twins.
We're fringe twins. Yes. Yeah. Yes. I admire your curtain bang, but I've done this for so long. I can't go back now.
No, it's totally the right look for you too. Like you just look awesome.
Oh, thank you. That's so kind of you. Keep going. I'll never stop.
But anyway, maybe more on to more important things.
Sure.
Why don't you tell us about yourself? I find you so fascinating, and I know that the listeners will as well. So just tell me a little bit about yourself and what you do.
Sure. So I am not a social media manager. I am a business strategist and speaker. And my job is to help ambitious entrepreneurs and leaders get off the sidelines and claim their spotlight. And what that means, it comes from a very personal story, which was that in 2019, I was at this beautiful conference in Palm Springs. It was millennial Instagram heaven. And I was there. I wear a lot of black, sharp bangs, red lipstick. I felt like Morticia Addams compared to all these like beautiful women in their kind of flowy skirts and colors, and just didn't quite fit in. But I'm a huge keener. And so I went to every session I possibly could. I'm in the front row with a notebook. I'm ready to like soak up the genius of what's happening. And there's a person on stage who I'm sure is a lovely human being. And her presentation was about how to do better networking. And so I'm keen, I'm ready to learn. And she says, the next time you go to somebody at a networking event, this was of course pre-COVID, instead of going up and saying, hi, I'm Amanda Wagner, I'm a business strategist and speaker, instead to ask this person what sets their soul on fire. And I look around at the other women in this room, and that works for many people. There are many woo-woo people in the world. I'm not one of them. And so I'm looking around going, really? That's the secret? That's your best advice? And I sat in that audience and I went, why is she up there and I'm not?
Oh, I love that.
And my job is to help anybody who has ever sat in any sort of audience, in person, virtual, listening, whatever it is, and going, why are they up there and I'm still sitting in the audience? And how to create that action, how to ask for more, and to really make a name for yourself, and stop letting your ambition be this dirty little secret that you aren't allowed to talk about.
Oh, that's just so cool. So,
That's where I am now. I've been doing this for about 2 years. My background is not in business. I have an education degree and a master's in educational psychology. I started as a high school teacher. I moved into sales as a startup company, and once I lost my job, which was totally unexpected, I took everything I loved about teaching, everything I loved about sales, and I took it into an environment that, Dakota, you're very familiar with, which is retail.
yep.
I built my first business helping retailers and their teams build consistent and consistently excellent customer experiences and how to sell without feeling sleazy.
Mm-hmm.
And then figured out that I didn't want to be the customer experience lady forever. I wanted to do more.
Oh, you're so ambitious.
Thank you. That's the highest compliment you could ever pay me.
So, is that why you like to work with ambitious people?
Yes, because I am one of them and I get it.
Yes.
I find that there are not always safe places for really ambitious people to say, I want this big thing. Am I allowed to say this out loud? So I often will start my strategy calls with, tell me something that you feel like you're not allowed to say
Mm.
about your ambition, about your career goal. And I say, you're talking to a person who wants to be at the scale of Oprah. Your dreams don't scare me.
That's so cool.
Thank you. The conversation gets so much more interesting when we
Oh,
can say what we're really thinking.
so why are we so afraid to tell others that we have these dreams and these ambitions and these goals that we want to reach? Why do we have that stigma?
I think it's because we've been taught that we value humility, we value grace and gratitude, and we should just be grateful for what we have.
Mm.
And when we're asking for more, we're saying we want more, we are greedy. We are entitled, right? As a millennial, I see your eye roll. I'm like, yep, I've heard that a million times. And there's also this like, oh, how cute for you. When you enter the quote unquote real world,
Mm.
then you'll just get a regular job like the rest of us.
Wow. I definitely have felt that before.
Right. And it takes a while to like find your people, go, who can I tell this to? I remember the first business coach that I reached out to asked me the world's coachiest question, which is, if you could snap your fingers and you were exactly where you wanted to be, what would that look like? And I said, I am at the scale of Oprah. I am speaking to an audience of 30,000 people, and everybody there has read my book and bought a ticket. And she laughed at me.
No.
Yes. I give her
Why?
the benefit of the doubt. I do. I give her the benefit of the doubt, which is that I caught her off guard. She's not used to people thinking that big. But I also instantly went, thank goodness you had that chuckle, because it tells me you're not my people.
Mm-hmm.
And it also tells me that I have to be that person for other people and go, you want that? Bring it on. Yeah, let's do it. How can I help?
Hell yeah. Love that. So, do you ever come across people that maybe aren't as ambitious yet, but they see you and because you really are so like magnetic, like you have this presence that is very just enticing, and I want to be a part of that, and I know so many people want to be a part of that.
Mhm.
Do people who are not very ambitious, do they reach out to you too?
Sometimes, but I sometimes find that because I am so feisty and outspoken about it, it scares the unambitious.
Mm, yeah.
There can be a bit of like, ooh, she's a little intense. I don't know if that's for me. But I would definitely say that as I do this more and more, everybody's level of ambition and understanding of ambition is different. So some people might think that for them, big ambition is to be a leader in their community.
Mm,
And that counts. For me, big ambition is being a leader internationally.
yeah.
Also counts. So it's figuring out, what does your ambition mean for you? And also recognizing that before we are leaders, before we're entrepreneurs, we're humans. And we still need rest. We still need breaks. Being ambitious doesn't mean that you're part of hustle and grind culture.
Yes.
It means that you have your eye on the prize and you're going to figure out how to get there.
I really like that because I think that I used to have that hustle and grind sort of
Yes.
personality, and I got burnt out. I was working, in different, like, for just different fashion companies. And I was like, oh, if I want to, climb that ladder, that corporate
Yes.
ladder, I have to stay until 9 p.m. And then I have to
Right.
get here at 6 a.m. And
Right.
I have to wear heels all day and show them that I can do this. And then, by the time I got home, I was like, I can't even eat. I just need to sleep, and it's just not healthy.
It's not sustainable
Mm-mm.
either. And then that hustle and grind culture, I find, is so much about proving. I'm proving that
Yes.
I'm the first one in. I'm proving that I'm the last one to leave. And even when I see that, I'm a little bit sassy, and I'm like, I look at some people who behave that way, and I'm like, maybe you're not that good at this. If it's taking you 15 hours to do what could be done in 8,
Right.
let's instead talk about efficiency and essentialism and figure out, where does your time and attention really need to go so that you can get the most bang for your buck?
Exactly. I'm learning this
Me too.
as time goes
Me
on.
too. I have not cracked the code,
Yeah, not yet.
right? I don't have the secret, but yes, we learn it as we practice it, and sometimes we slip and we try again.
So I want to talk about, this being a social media
Yes.
podcast. For the most part, I feel like I'm always going off into different tangents. Actually, the way that I came across your profile is, I believe it was your social media manager ended up following me, and I saw your photo and I was like, bangs. So I clicked on it and I was like, oh, Amanda is awesome. Like, I can totally vibe with this one.
Right.
So I want to talk a little bit about, your personal social media, because you have a great social media presence, and your videos are just like on fire, and I love everything that you're doing. So do you have a social media manager, and do you want to talk about your social media?
I do, yes. I have a social media manager. Her name is Liz. She is also my podcast co-host and producer. So we call her LP. It's Liz Pittman. And I hired her because I realized quite early on in my business that I want to do what I'm really good at and pay someone else to do the rest. I want to pay someone who's an expert at social media so that I don't have to hobble my way through it and cross my fingers and hope it works.
Yes.
So Liz was my first contractor, my first person that I said, I need your help. How do we do this? And it started very part-time. And eventually we built this really strong relationship. And as often happens with contractors and clients, in some case, we have friend time and work time. But I knew I needed an expert, and I knew I needed somebody who got me, who understood what it's like for me to be impatiently ambitious, so that she can understand my voice, know my core message, but also temper my expectations that I'm not going to grow from 50 followers to 50,000 in one night.
You are not like other clients, because there are so many people that are like, oh, you're a social media manager. Okay, so you're going to get me 50,000 followers in a week.
Yes. Part of that is Liz tempering my expectation and going, that isn't realistic. But it's also her going, let's talk about the metrics that actually matter here. And we have really engaged people. And there's a beautiful tweet that I will pull up. I will find it by the end of this episode. And the concept is that I don't need 5,000 followers. I need 5 loyal disciples.
Yes.
Who listen and engage and end up buying from me. There's that conversion factor that, yes, I want an audience of 30,000 people at one point, but I would rather have 1,000 engaged people than 30,000 seat warmers.
Exactly. Because once you have those people who are engaged, they're actually the ones that are clicking on your website. They're the
Exactly.
ones that are like, oh, you need a business coach? I know someone because I follow someone on Instagram.
Exactly. And so the fact too that you found me through Instagram, it's that piece that I know she's strategically following people. She's strategically looking for the right people and will send me, this person would be great for your program, Know My Name, or this person has a podcast and you'd be a great fit. So she's really helped me pull back from the vanity side.
Hmm.
And it also means that, I mean, I found a person who I can trust, who I trust with my words, I trust with my photos to make not only my grid beautiful and appealing, but that I'm reaching the right people.
Yes, because you are putting basically in her hands your entire reputation.
Totally. Totally. So even though I'm recording the videos or the reels, or I'm the one that is writing specific captions or post-it notes, her job is to go, I have all of this information. How do I put it out in a way that is meaningful and that gets us what we want so that we continue to build this reputation that is more than a pretty grid?
Yes. It's so great. It's so great that you also understand the importance of having a social media manager for
Yes.
those reasons.
Yeah.
I think a lot of, businesses tend to still, and I talk about this in a couple of episodes, but
Mhm.
they do see social media managers still as kind of like a very entry level job or not very
Yes.
important or
Or it's a
maybe an internship.
superfluous hire, like it's the first position to be cut.
Right.
It's the first line item that you're like, "Oh, I can do this myself." And it's like, you can,
Hmm.
but let's not underestimate the fact that these people are on their phones all day. They are the ones reading the updates about algorithms, who are willing to experiment and try things. I'm like, I'm so glad your brain is there because mine isn't.
Yeah. And that is so funny because, yes, everyone is on social media. So pretty
Right.
much everyone can do social media. They can
Right.
actually they can post and they can write copy.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is in order to grow, and especially for a business, it
Yes.
is important to have someone who knows what they're really doing.
For sure. And I'm a big believer that you can't be known for something if you're trying to do everything.
Yes.
And so I have to sit back and think, do I want to be known for cracking the code of the Instagram algorithm? No, that's probably what Liz wants to be known for.
Yep.
I want to be known for helping ambitious people. So let me do that and let me hire Liz to do what she's best at.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, so the other day, Amanda, you and I were talking about um, how social media managers can really help these ambitious clients, like the clients that you work with. And I wanted you to talk a little bit about that to the listeners, just some ways that social media managers can be there for support.
For sure. So I definitely describe myself and my clients as impatiently ambitious. I want it all. I want it now. And so bringing somebody else in, not only do they have to get that, but there are really specific ways that they can help their most ambitious clients on social media. So my top 3 for a social media manager who's working with somebody like me or somebody who's fiercely ambitious, first thing is to find out their priority.
Hmm.
And I use the question, what do you want to be known for? Social media managers listening, take that question, run with it. Because I find that it helps us dig into what we really want to focus on. So the second piece of that is, if people are to remember one thing from seeing a post on social media, what's that one thing? So in my case, it's bangs and hopefully ambition.
Yes.
So everything about my social media presence comes back to that piece. How is this post, this reel, this video, story proof that I am the most ambitious person I know and I'm here to help people who keep their ambition a secret. What's hard is that, like we mentioned earlier on, ambitious people who aren't quite comfortable there yet will come up with these garbage throwaway answers of, I want to be known for being kind. And I'm like, cute, give me the real answer. Yes, you want to be known for being kind. Yes, you want to be known for working hard. But let's think instead, why do people call you? What's happening in their lives that makes them go, I need to call this person? And get so deep into that so that your social media manager client relationship is so strong that the social media manager can answer that question, and every post, story, reel is focused on that piece.
I love that so much. And I think that it's really interesting because I think about that obviously with the clients that I work with. And we're writing that story together. We're really bringing in that whole brand for them. And I think that I miss that piece with myself. And so when we were talking the other day, I was thinking about that, like, wait a second, I'm not answering that question for myself. And I'm trying to get new clients. I'm trying to build my business. Like that actually needs to be something that I work on immediately.
Right. So that people know I need to call Dakota when.
Right.
And it can be as quote unquote simple as having these posts and stories that say, call me when.
Yeah.
If you feel like this, you need me. And to be unapologetic about it because you're the best at doing this thing for this type of person, which means you have to know, what do I do for what type of person?
Yes.
But every single piece of content is an opportunity to get into the hearts, minds, and wallets of your audience. And that's our goal. So once you, as a social media manager, once you know their priority, now your job is to get creative and go, how do we do this in the best way possible? Which comes to my second way for social media managers to support their ambitious clients, which is to pick the platforms that make the most sense for their goals. You know, I'm sure better than anybody, this is not one size fits all.
Very true.
And having a social media manager is more than, oh, everyone's using TikTok, so I should use TikTok.
Oh, yes.
Your social media manager needs to be able to go, is your audience on TikTok? What do we want them to do when they find you? How are they going to click on your website, buy what you're offering, hire you? Is this the right place?
Right.
So knowing that our intention is every post, every piece of content is hitting their heart, their mind, or their wallet, how do we get really strategic about having consistent and consistently excellent presence on whatever platforms we choose? Instead of doing a job on 8 platforms, what if we did a really excellent job on 2?
Oh, I cannot just say how much I love that enough, because that is something that I struggle with all the time. Clients are always like, well, we need to be on TikTok. And it's like,
why?
Yeah, why? Right. Is your audience on there? What are we really bringing to that platform too? Like if we want views, we have to put in the work to get that viewership up. You can't just post something and assume it's going to do well.
Right.
So, what platforms are you on?
I am primarily on Instagram with a sprinkling of LinkedIn, because I know that the people who hire speakers spend most of their time on LinkedIn.
Yep.
These are marketing executives. They are social teams from big companies. They are conference organizers. They're hanging out on LinkedIn. They are not wasting their time on TikTok. And if they are on TikTok, it's in the evening where they're watching like mom hacks.
Yes.
Or funny cat videos. So it's really, that's where LinkedIn comes in. And for Instagram, it is that I know my audience is a little bit younger, so
Mhm.
I don't use Facebook for that. I also just personally hate Facebook. I know they're all owned by Facebook, yada yada. But for me, it's the platform that I feel the most comfortable with. And the purpose behind it is that I'm finding similar people who are like me.
Yes.
And being able to play in that space, it lets me get my voice out so that every post on there is still connected to here is my website, or here is where you can find my podcast and listen to my words. But I often think of Instagram, LinkedIn, and my podcast. This is what I put out in the world for free. It is very bingeable.
Yes.
So my goal is always with any sort of social media, if you think I'm this good for free, imagine what could happen if you paid me.
Ugh. I can't, I love it.
I wish I could just squish you,
I
Dakota. I
know,
wish I could just like hug you through the screen right now.
that's how I feel.
I think about you when we talked in the first piece about finding out their priority and what do you want to be known for. When we talked last week, I said it would be very easy for you to build a legacy based on building up the Dash social media presence
Yeah.
and knowing the Kardashians, even though you will never name your favorite. That could be the thing that you're known for, but you're consciously making a decision and going, yes, that's part of my story. And Nicole Miller is part of my story, but it's not the whole story and it's not what I'm working towards.
Yeah.
So your job is to now go, so what do I want to be known for? And how do I make sure that people know when to call me?
Okay, so we need to talk about this a little bit more because I was thinking about the story that you told.
Yeah.
And I was just listening to another podcast that was talking about this too. So I was like, whoa, what's happening in the universe right now? What do you want to be known for? And
Mhm.
sometimes it is just like maybe I don't want to be known for like, oh, I worked for the Kardashians.
Right.
But also maybe I should just get over that. And maybe I should just be okay with that because it is a part of my story, a part of my journey, a
Right.
huge turning point in my life.
Right.
Um, and so I was like, why am I always fighting it? Like, why am I always like, yeah, oh, I worked for them and,
No big deal.
no big deal. And maybe I should be like, yeah, I worked for them and it was awesome. And I need to just like maybe own up to it a little bit more. Um, I think it goes back to that whole ambition piece. I have ambition to
Yes.
be, I want to make an impact, and
Yes.
that is a part of me making an impact. So
Mhm.
why am I so afraid to talk about it?
Why do you think, at the risk of this turning into a coaching session, why do you think you're afraid of it?
I think I don't want people to think that I'm like, like I did this. Um, like I'm bragging. I don't want to come off like I'm bragging.
Ah, and I want to invite you to show off a little bit.
Well, if you say so.
I said it, therefore it must be true. With our like, we should be humble, we should be grateful.
Yeah,
There's a
right.
lot of talk about just showing up.
Hmm.
And if you want to have an impact, whether that is empire level or not, there's a certain amount of showing off that has to happen. So, yes, show up and show off.
Mm.
So, I don't think that working for the Kardashians and building the Dash brand is the whole story. It can be a really interesting starting off point.
Right.
Similar to how What Sets Your Soul on Fire lady, she is not my whole story, but
Yes.
she's the jumping off point that now gets people into that space where I was going, this is when I figured it out. And if you've ever had this moment, come along with me. I wonder if the Kardashians is part of this. I built this brand to X number of followers and this engaged audience. And guess what? My tank is still full.
Yeah.
I did that. Now watch what else I can do.
Yes. I'm fired up.
Right. It's this little piece. It's the jumping off point. It's not your identity,
Right.
nor does it have to be. But I think it's a really cool piece that gets people going, okay, I'm curious. You
Mhm.
don't have to be a Kardashian to have worked for them.
Yes.
And clearly you have some great stories. So let that be the lead that people find out about you, and then you go, I did that, now watch what I can do. It's been 8 years. Look at me now.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Well, thank you for my little session,
You're
my coaching
welcome.
session. I appreciate you.
You always get to choose how much you share, and I know I have 3 points here, but let's call this 2B.
Okay.
Authenticity is different than transparency.
Mm.
And I think there's a huge push to be authentic on social media. We want storytelling, but authenticity doesn't mean I have to share every single thing about my life.
Oh, praise.
So you always get to choose, how much of the Kardashian story do I want to share? How much of the Nicole Miller story do I want to share? In episode 1, you talk about having an insurance job, which again, I cannot imagine you in, but I'm so glad you told that story. We get to decide how much or how little we reveal.
So true.
And that's the job of a social media manager, to figure out, okay, we're sharing this piece perhaps of your personal life. How is that still helping us reach our audience, reach your goals, make sure that people know when to call you?
Absolutely. I really, really enjoy that. And now I just have to do it for myself.
Yes. Oh, the cobbler with no shoes. It's very true, right? Do as I say, not as I do.
Right, right.
I
Exactly.
get it. I get it.
All right. Well,
Yeah.
what's point number 3, Amanda?
Point number 3 is a twofold. Number 1, figure out the metrics that matter.
Yes.
So is it likes and follows? Is it website visits, clicks, comments, and engagement? And helping your client set some realistic expectations. Because if you have a client who wants to grow to 50,000 followers in a year, but only wants to pay you to post twice a week, probably not going to happen.
Exactly.
So to be really clear about what is realistic to expect, what actually matters, and to make sure that the client is on board with that. And I think that's probably one of the hardest parts of social media managers' jobs, with changing algorithms and some unpredictability. You can't always explain every piece of data with an evolving platform. And the second piece of this, and I'm so glad I'm afraid to say this to people. This is one of my pieces that I'm like, am I for saying this? But I know you'll get me. Reminding your clients that the platform owes them nothing.
Oh, I am so glad you said that.
Here's why I said it, because I listened to the social media manager, and I think it's in episode 3 that you said, let's talk about October 4th, 2021. And every social media manager in the world is like, oh, do we have to talk about it? But there's this sense that it's like, well, I posted. Where are my likes? Why am I not growing fast enough? And I'm quick to remind people, I mean, my clients especially, even though I'm not a social media manager, this platform doesn't owe you anything. And it gets easier when you realize you're here by choice.
It's free.
It's free.
It's
How much
something.
are we really expecting of this free platform?
Well, and do you think that we're using that as an excuse of why our business isn't growing?
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. It's a very convenient excuse.
Isn't it?
Yeah. It's a really, really convenient one. And it's a cop out. We have to get creative. We have to consider other ways of doing things. And when I see complaints about social media, I'm the first person to say, it owes you nothing. This is free. You don't have to be here. And in my Zoom room with my coaching and strategy clients, I will often talk about the Olympics. And I say, let's talk about an Olympian and what do they train for? You're not training for a 400-meter backstroke and speed skating.
Right.
Chances are you're really focused on one thing. You're not trying to do all the events. So this came up when an incredibly skilled photographer in my community was complaining about how she's not getting enough likes and follows. And she did this on social media, followed it up with a newsletter going, well, I guess I'll just make my art even though nobody's going to like it and follow it. And
Wow.
she asked for feedback. So I sent her just a tiny 30,000 word email back. And I said, is Instagram your Olympics? Or is this specific type of photography your Olympics? Because I'm not here to be an Instagram superstar. I'm here to find my right people.
Mm-hmm.
I'm here to find the most ambitious people who are tired of being on the sidelines, who are tired of showing up to networking events smelling like hairspray and desperation and hoping that somebody pays attention to them. And instead going, say your name, say it loud, and repeat over and over what you want to be known for and why people should call you.
And you don't want to be the person that's like, feel bad for me. I'm not getting any likes and comments.
Exactly.
No one's going to follow that.
Oh, it just gives me these crunchy feelings when people do that. This begging for likes. And this platform doesn't owe you anything. On October 4th, I remember after the big outage and panic, I saw a company online on Instagram that said in these 2 days, they lost $30,000 in potential business because Instagram was down. And my response was, my response to myself, I didn't say this because I'm still a bit of a chicken shit and don't want to ruffle feathers.
She's
what
real.
I thought and said to my immediate friends was, if you lost $30,000 in potential revenue in 2 days from Instagram business, how the fuck do you not have a website?
Oh,
how do you not have an email list?
Right?
You don't have a backup plan?
Like social media is it?
Right.
What happens when it goes away forever if it does?
Exactly. At some point, it will go away in some form. You expect me to now feel sorry for you?
No.
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 I just have no patience for it.
Also, the whole idea of like potential revenue, it's like, oh, please.
Exactly. Exactly. And like, I'm not here for your sob story. In fact, I'm here to say like, oh, sounds like you need a website. Sounds like you need a mailing list.
Yeah, it sounds like the marketing 101. I mean, it never involved social media.
Exactly. Let's go back to basics here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm actually a huge proponent of that. Being a social media manager, I'm like all about the grassroots marketing, word of mouth, email lists, texting. Social media is important.
It is one piece though.
But it's only one piece. Exactly.
And so to summarize, so for a social media manager to support the most impatiently ambitious clients, find out their priority, what they want to be known for, help them pick the platforms that make the most sense for their goals and where their people exist, and figure out the metrics that matter and remind them that the platform owes them nothing.
I feel like I'm getting a free session from you. And like everyone who listens to this is so lucky because this is like a paid course right now.
Oh, I'm delighted. Well, please, this is my shame. I have no shame in plugging myself. Please follow me on Instagram at the Amanda Wagner. There's more where this came from at the Amanda Wagner podcast. And yes, I am available for hire. I work with clients and offer private coaching and strategy sessions to dig into some of this stuff so that social media managers are a dime a dozen. How do we make sure that you're the one that other people pick?
Oh, yes, exactly.
So juicy.
So juicy. So you're in Canada.
I am.
And I was curious, do you work with clients all over the world?
I do. Zoom lets us work with time zones. It's easier than ever to work with people from all over the world. I would say most of my presence in Canada right now, but that's not the goal. The goal is international. So time zones are a very easy thing to overcome.
Hmm.
And I would love to build up my client base, my network outside, because I want to be on more stages and impact more people and change more lives.
I I think you already are, and I think that I can already see your name in lights. And I
Thank
can't
you.
wait to be in the
Please talk to
audience.
me every day. Please send me these messages every day.
I'm serious though. I
Thank you.
love watching you on social media. Actually, you have something coming up in January. I want you to talk a little bit about that if you don't
I
mind.
would love to. So I am launching a program called Know My Name. And it is 2 group calls a month. And it is for people who want others to know their name. And again, maybe that's in your community, maybe that's in your city or town, your country, internationally. What matters is that you're here to build a legacy. And in these 2 calls a month, I bring my genius, I bring the genius of all the other people in the room, and we explore and unpack ideas related to being really ambitious people, wanting to build a legacy, figuring out what we want to be known for, and when people need to call us. And it's that safe space where you don't have to be quiet about your ambition.
Yes.
Because I one of the things that I am the best at is championing other people and asking, how are you celebrating this win? And so in January I'm starting this community of people who all get each other, because maybe you can't tell your family that you want to be the next XYZ. Or maybe your partner doesn't totally get why you can't just be happy in your current job.
Wow.
But
Yeah.
we get it. In
Yes.
Know My Name, we get it. And I get it because I have been there and because I am there. I want people to know my name. And so often I use my own examples. I'm like, one day I want somebody to tattoo something I've said on their body. I want to meet a stranger in an airport and have them go, "You're Amanda Wagner. I've heard your podcast." Or "I saw you at this event."
Oh, so cool.
And I want to find the other people who have those feelings and maybe don't say them out loud or don't know how to get there, and we'll work on it together. I do not have a 10-step program to being famous.
Oh, you
What I
don't?
do have is the experience. Sorry. I wish. I wish. If I had that, I mean, we'd be there already.
Right.
What I do have is a really good sense of how challenging it is, how rewarding it is, and I want to lead other people who know what this feels like and who want it so bad and can taste it and show up to Know My Name with their pilot light on so I can throw some gasoline on it.
Oh, yes. That's awesome. That is going to be so helpful and so big for people because like just what I was talking about, I don't want to come off as bragging but what you're saying is like, yeah, I want to be in an airport and somebody be like,
Yeah.
"Oh, hey, there's Dakota Jean."
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. I'm so glad you said that out loud. What does
Yeah.
that feel like for you?
So scary.
Yes. Yeah. And when you say it 10 more times, it's going to feel less scary.
Yeah.
And you're going to find the people who laugh at you and go, "Oh, Dakota," or who say, "Ooh, bitch has got an ego on her."
Mhm.
And you're going to go, "Great, you're not my people."
Yes.
That's so good. Thank you for telling me early. Because now I'm going to find the other people who go, "Holy shit, I want that too. I never thought about an airport, but I always say I want to be on somebody's vision board.
Oh, yeah.
I want somebody to go, I want to be able to hire her one day. I want to be on your vision board and I want to be on your credit card statement."
Oh, yeah. I love
And
that.
that's good shit.
That's some
Hey,
good
like
shit right there.
you're glowing. You have this big smile of like, "Oh yeah, that is what I want."
Yes, the credit card statement especially.
It's a good one. Hey,
That's really good.
so let's stop apologizing for our ambition, because for every person who is this ambitious, I think that there are 50, 100, 1,000, 10,000 people who don't want that at all.
Absolutely.
There are many people who want quiet, content, settled down lives. Great news. It means there's space for me to be on stage. There's space for me to take up some room.
To start a podcast.
Exactly. Exactly. To start a podcast, to build an empire, to tell people what you want.
And really building that business and that community.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow, I really
Yeah.
love that. So, before we end, I just want to talk a little bit more about your podcast. Can you tell the
Sure.
name again and where people can listen to it, and what your focus is on there?
Sure. Yes. Clarity beats clever. It's called the Amanda Wagner Podcast.
Oh,
And the podcast is myself and my producer Liz, and LP and I discuss ideas, concepts related to ambition. We are speaking to business owners at any stage, from ideation to building, scaling, and leaders who know there's something more for them. So the podcast is probably where I get the most personal, as well as the newsletter that I send out. You can sign up through theamandawagner.com. And that's where I will discuss my experience as a fiercely ambitious person. I also tell the story of me losing my job and what that did. So we get really personal. And some of my favorite and the most popular episodes, I talk about why business owners need to ditch discounting.
mm,
That's a big one that kind of follows the I'm an ambitious person. Am I really allowed to charge that? Yes. That's episode 48. And then I have 2 episodes on something called professional envy, which is
I want to
some
talk
of
another hour.
our oh my goodness, they're some of our most popular episodes. And the Coles Notes version is that jealousy is when we see what somebody else has and we don't want them to have it. Envy is when I see what somebody else has and I go, I want that too. How do I get it? So this really, I mean, Dakota, we need an hour. Maybe there's a part 2.
Seriously.
When we talk about envy and social media, we are seeing things that other people have. And I think sometimes the instinct is to see what somebody else does and get annoyed and go, why don't I have that? Why isn't it happening fast enough? Brene Brown released another book this week. And I'm like, how is she releasing another book? And it's taken me 2 weeks to get a blog post out.
Uh-huh.
My instinct is let's unfollow her because it's making me unhappy and it's making me compare. So instead of compare and despair, I think envy can help us look at some of these people and go, how can I compare myself and declare that I want it too?
I adore that so much. I think that the idea of envy is something that would normally maybe come off as something that's not very positive.
Exactly. Yeah.
And you're turning that around.
It seems to be my sweet spot. Like I take the dirty little secret of ambition and the like, I'm not allowed to say I'm envious. And I'm like, I promise these are good things, because I can look at a Brene Brown. I can look at a Mel Robbins, a Marie Forleo, Elizabeth Gilbert, Rachel Rogers, these people who are doing these amazing things. And I could go, I'm jealous. I wish she didn't have it. I'm going to unfollow. Or I could go, how is she doing it?
Mhm.
I want to learn more. I want to get there. Thank you for paving that way, because it's going to make my journey there a little bit easier. Envy is my superpower. It helps me figure out what I want.
That is so brilliant. You are
Fingers
actually,
crossed that one day that's my TED Talk. That's the plan.
oh, you're going to get that sooner than you think.
I hope so. I can't wait. I will tell you all about it when it happens. That's the 2022 plan. Let's get that TED Talk.
Okay, I can't wait. I'll be in the audience, and I'm going to be in the audience and saying, "Yeah, I'll be up there too, but I'm also going to be your biggest cheerleader."
Yes. Oh, I can't wait. Nothing could please me more. Yes, be in the audience. She's up there. I want to be up there too. That's
But
the magic of envy.
after, and I'll soak it all in and enjoy it.
You're so kind. Thank you, Dakota.
Amanda, thank you so much for doing this with me and for being on my podcast. I seriously am I just admire you so much and all of the work that you're doing. I can't thank you enough.
It's again, this is my pleasure. I'm over the moon to be here, and I love when Instagram DMs become this larger relationship. I can't wait to continue listening to the podcast and seeing some of the amazing guests that you have. And I would love to see you in Know My Name. And we will certainly keep this conversation going because I know you've got something. I know that pilot light is burning.
Oh, thank you. Honestly,
Yeah.
thank you.
It's my pleasure. Thank you, Dakota. I can't wait to hear what your listeners think and invite them to reach out to me on social media at the Amanda Wagner on Instagram so that I can hear some thoughts. I can find more of us ambitious people and let's really build a movement where we're no longer hiding and instead getting on that stage and claiming our spot.
Let's do it.